Hello, my name is Michael and welcome to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be showing you how I made two bed trays out of cherry. Now the wood was a little bit more beat up than I normally would use. You can see here with the cracks and some things that'll need to be filled. But I thought it was worth the challenge, and I think it comes out really good in the end. Stick around to see. After I got everything cut to rough length, we just need to get cut to the rough width, lay everything out, and get ready for the jointer. My dad decided he would steal the show on this shot, and honestly I think he does a great job at distracting anyone from realizing I'm not using the guard on the jointer. Like I said in the beginning, I was using lumber that's a little bit more beat up. On this one in particular, you can see straight through the middle, so we're going to use some epoxy to fill those holes, cracks, and anything that just needs some structural reinforcement. This is what it looks like after it's dried. So the next thing I did was take the bed tray tops over to the planer to get them down to final thickness, and then rip them to the final width. And then we're going to glue them up and plane the rest of the pieces down to their final thickness. This is one of the reasons I built a crosscut sled after this build, because as you can see, my sliding miter saw doesn't quite get the whole thing in one pass. But in either case, at this stage I'm just squaring one end off, and then I'll use the table saw to square the other end off. This is kind of the first glimpse of what it's going to look like. After this, I use a combination of a router, scroll saw, spindle sander, and my router table to cut out the handles for the bed trays. Now that I had the handles cut in, it was time to move on to the legs. Kind of the same setup, but I end up using the bandsaw and like an orbital stationary disc sander to get the rounded edges, and then you cut off the legs at a 15-degree angle and line them up as close as they can while they still both fit inside the tray. I used a 3/8" spacer block to keep the legs consistent from the edge of the bed tray. Now to keep the hardware hidden on this, I ended up using like a furniture, I'm not sure you would call it, but you'll see it here in a little bit. But essentially I just clamped the heck out of the legs, drilled one pilot hole, then made that hole larger on the side, and then you see here that I insert that, furniture fastener that the legs will pivot on. I only had number 20 biscuits, and I was confident those would just go straight through the top of this tray. The top is actually a little skinnier than I've built in the past. So as you saw with the legs, I just kind of clamped the heck out of it, drilled pilot holes, and started the glue up. Once the glue was dry, I found that some of the legs didn't rotate all the way. That's a real simple fix. I just took them back to the sander and shaved off a little bit, and they ended up rotating just fine. In order to give the legs a lot more structural support, I put a cross brace between them, and I ended up cutting both sides at 15 degrees to match the bottom of the legs. This will mean when the legs are extended, that crossbar will be parallel with the bed or wherever you set up your bed tray. So get that 15-degree cut, glue it up, and then I add some screws on the sides using that plug method I've shown before on my channel. You can see here I'm gluing the holes from those screws. This way we won't be able to see that hardware, just like with the furniture hidden fastener. Once those are dry, go ahead and cut them off, but always use painter's tape here. That really reduces the chances of marking up the workpiece. And the video is a little out of sequence here, but I also use these hidden plugs to fill in those holes when we secure the side of the bed tray to the handle on the sides. You've probably heard me blab about this too much, but here's just another shot of showing what that plug cut joint looks like after it's done. I showed this in a little bit more detail on the floating shelf video. My finishing process is to use mineral spirits to clean off the sawdust, put on the coat, sand, rinse and repeat. 3 coats on the bottom, 3 coats on the top. And then I'll show you how I attach magnets to keep the legs secured to the bed tray. I marked out where the legs meet the bottom of the tray so I knew where to drill. I used a Forstner bit, and then I ended up mixing up some epoxy to hold the magnets in place. And after a long and arguably tedious process, I was all set. I think these bed trays just look gorgeous. I love how you really can't see the hardware from the outside. You have the hidden fasteners, and then the legs just tuck away. You can see what they look like flat here on top of each other. So I hope you enjoyed watching. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.